Joining us now in the OK Preps Roundup, powered by Excel Therapy for our Class 4A preview, is Tuttle head coach Brad Ballard. He joins us this morning live from Tuttle, where they're about to actually get on the field and practice as they look to open up the season later on this month. Coach, how are you doing this morning?
We're doing great. How are you doing, Michael?
We're doing good. You know, it's like I mentioned, it's always a good time to talk high school football. Tuttle, once again in the headlines in Class 4A, highly ranked in the preseason rankings. I know preseason rankings kind of get iffy here and there, and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. But this year, Tuttle relatively high in the preseason rankings. What have you seen from your team in this first week of practice, as well as what you saw from them this offseason?
Well, beginning in the off season, Michael, they did a wonderful job of getting their work done, committed to what we're trying to do, and the hard work that it takes to put yourself in a position to win and compete at the end of the season when it matters. And these guys definitely put in the time. I like our senior leadership. Don't have a lot of egos on this team. These guys are worried about one thing, and that's getting better as a team every day. And that's carried over into the fall camp here. And this first week's been really good. Tempo's been good. Kids' attitudes are good. And, you know, we're just trying to prove on us. Right now, for coaches, you're really not preparing for one particular opponent. You're trying to work on what you do as a team and what your bread and butter things are. And they've done a really good job of that. So looking forward to getting back out on the practice field today with them. They're a fun group to be around. And really looking forward to this group. I think we have a chance to improve a bunch. And we like their attitude. We like the way they worked, and just excited to get it going.
Let's talk about some of the players that you have returning on this year's team, and starting on offense. At the quarterback position, Rhett Boles returns this year, and last year he was one of our player of the weeks for a phenomenal performance during the regular season. How has he grown over the last year or so, knowing that, you know, this year, especially building momentum off of last year's undefeated regular season and run in the 4A playoffs?
Oh, he loves the weight room. He's a weight room guy, and he never shies away from that. He puts the time in there, and then also in track. He had an excellent spring out on the track, and, you know, he made the finals in the 100 Class 4A, and then he was part of our state championship mile relay team. So Rhett does a little bit of everything for us. His toughness, I think, is what you notice the most when you watch him play. He's a gritty kid, doesn't mind the grind of practice and all the work in the off season to improve. And he's a quiet but gutsy leader for us, and something I think everybody likes to coach.
And now let's talk about that offensive line, the guys who are going to be protecting Rhett. And you can't talk about the offensive line without noticing the big 6'7" guy there at offensive tackle and Hunter Anthony. I don't know what the Anthony family are feeding their kids, because I thought Chandler was big last year. Of course, he signed with North Texas. He was all of 6'6" and over 300 pounds. I use the finger quotes. Little brother Hunter is probably even bigger than Chandler. I don't know what they're feeding him in the Anthony household, but whatever it is, it's producing some big old boys.
It is that, and we would like to have a few more of them. Sadly, this is the last one, but you know, their family is a great family. Dad's an extremely hard worker. Mom is an unbelievable lady, and I think she spends a lot of time cooking for those two. But she comes from German descent, so it must be something in the German side of the family there. But they're just great kids. Hunter's had a great off-season. He worked extremely hard. You know, when you're 6'7", 315, it takes a while to notice results on a frame that big, and he's really worked hard, and there's a noticeable difference between last year and this year. So we love his attitude. He's been a quiet, calm leader, but leads by example. He's got a little bit of a nasty streak to him, so he's a really good offensive lineman. He's just growing. I mean, he's a young kid, just going to be a junior. So we like what his future holds, and, you know, that sets a tone for the rest of the guys. Gunnar Meyer, who was our center last year, we've moved to guard, started every game the last couple of years for us. And then Brock Mason, who played on our D-line last year, will also play offensive line for us this year. We've got a couple of new faces, and there's 3 or 4 guys that are right there on the cusp of getting time. And our competition level is really good at that position, so it makes practices great. Those guys are all fighting for spots, and that's healthy for our team.
Yeah, Hunter really impressed me this summer when we had him at our media day. Was a very soft-spoken kid. During the interview when I had him on camera, he wasn't afraid to speak up. But, yeah, out of all the offensive linemen, defensive linemen we had out there, he was without a doubt the biggest. And it's not too often that I feel small or short because I'm about 6'2". But I felt small standing next to that guy, that's for sure. Coach, let's talk about the schedule and specifically the district that you guys are in Class 4A, District 2. I don't know how it got set up, but this district is absolutely spread out all over the state. And you got road trips to Tulsa, you got a road trip to Cleveland, road trip to Tecumseh. I mean, when you look at the teams geographically in this district, it's not all bunched up together how you would ideally like. It's spread out all over, forcing you to have a couple road trips this year.
Sure, absolutely, and there's some good additions to our district. Last year, of course, you always start with Ada. Traditionally, those guys always have something they can make a run with, and then you put Blanchard into our district this year, who I think Jeff Craig probably does as good of a job preparing his teams as anybody around. And, them and Bethany is in our district. Coach Roof over there does an outstanding job. They're going to have a really good team. I mean, the district is going to be tough, but then you add 2 trips to Tulsa into it. If you have a young team and they haven't handled those couple-hour bus rides, it can be tough on them. But and I know there's no easy way to get to Tuttle. If you're coming to Tuttle, it's a pretty good trip too. So,
yeah.
It all evens out. Hopefully we'll get really good at it, and it'll be some good experience rolling into the playoffs, hopefully.
And now let's talk a little bit about a potential postseason run. Tuttle went 10-0 during the regular season last year. High expectations as you headed into the playoffs, and then all of a sudden you ran into a buzzsaw with Weatherford dropping in the first round 25-21. How much was that first round upset talked about this offseason as guys prepared for the 2016 campaign?
It's talked about, of course. First of all, we give the respect to those guys that they earned from us, and Weatherford and Coach Roof. They were really hot and did a wonderful job. We're up at halftime feeling pretty good about the plan we have, and we come out in the second half and turn it over a couple of times and don't capitalize on some chances for turnovers we had. And listen, you're not going to beat a good football team that time of year when you make those kind of mistakes. So we make too many mistakes to beat a good football team, and they got after us. So respect to them, of course. And then, as far as the off season goes, I don't think that I have to mention it to our kids. We might make a mention of it here and there, but again, it's part of the process of growing up as a team and learning to take care of your own business and capitalize on other teams' mistakes when you can, and not turning the ball over. I mean, sometimes it sounds really cliche as a coach, but if you hang on to the ball, good things happen. We did not. But there is some incentive there. If you don't win the state championship, it never ends like you want it to. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of hungry teams out there. We're one of them. And like you said earlier, the preseason rankings don't matter much. We want to get in the hunt. We want to play when it's cold. So we like this team. We like their makeup, and we're looking forward to all of it.
All right, and we'll get you out of here on this, Coach. You had a phenomenal regular season last year. It didn't carry over to the playoffs how you would like, contending for a state championship. How do you repeat the regular season success and add postseason success this fall?
Again, it has so much to do with matchups, and football is the ultimate game of matchups. There's so many of them out there, 11 different positions on the field. So sometimes the draw doesn't fit you well, even though a team might be a first place or a fourth place. Sometimes those matchups don't fit you well. So there's a lot involved. You never know who you're going to get. But for us, it's all about just getting better. Tuttle's never been in Class 4A, and these guys have made it to the playoffs the last 2 years, won a district championship last year. So we still feel like we're taking steps forward. We're not where we want to go yet, so we've still got some things to learn, and we've got plenty of improvement and work to do. So for us, it's just keep getting better, keep improving. That's our focus every day. And if we do those things, all the rest of it will take care of itself, whether it be regular season, postseason. We just want to get better.
Coach, always enjoy my conversations with you. Thanks so much for joining us here this morning for our Class 4A preview. And good luck this season. I'm sure this won't be the last time you and I talk throughout the regular season and on into the playoffs, but I wanted to thank you for coming on this morning.
Anytime, Michael, and thank you guys for all you do for our kids. We sure appreciate you.
I appreciate that, Coach. That is Tuttle head coach Brad Ballard joining us here on the OK Preps Roundup, powered by Excel Therapy.